Just in time. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Parks and Community Services Commission meeting of Thursday, March 9th, 2023. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock p.m. Appreciate everybody joining us here tonight and those watching at home. And we will turn it over for the roll call.
Commissioner Brown,
Present.
Commissioner Garcia Arcos,
Here.
Commissioner Glab,
Here.
Commissioner Wall,
Here.
Commissioner Wright,
Here.
Vice Chair Dorn Parker. Vice Chair Dorn Parker is absent. Chair Rutherford.
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. And yes, unfortunately, our vice chair cannot join us tonight. She is on prearranged travels out of state, but I know she's with us in spirit, perhaps watching on YouTube as well. So next, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would like to invite our District 3 Commissioner, Mr. Wall, if you would be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner Wall. And the first item on our agenda tonight is a presentation. We have a special guest joining us this evening, so we will turn the floor over for a discussion about bicycle licenses.
If I could, I would just like to make the quick introduction. I'd like to thank Lieutenant Brian Watkins for joining us tonight to do the presentation. It's kind of a little stall tactic while he gets everything set up, but I think it looks like he's ready to go. He said he'd also stay around if you have questions that relate to the park rangers and that portion of the report as well. So keep that in mind. And that's it. I will turn it over. Thank you, Brian, for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. Last month I presented in front of the City Council, and apparently Director Mentor liked my presentation so much that he asked me to come here and give it for you. So that's what we'll be doing this evening. All right, so my presentation is about repealing our bike license ordinance. The state of California adopted the bicycle omnibus bill which became effective in January 1st of this year. One of the provisions in that bill prohibits any jurisdiction from requiring bicycle licensing. And based upon this legislation, our current bicycle license ordinance was no longer lawful. We made recommendations to staff to repeal Chapter 1, Bicycles and Motorized Bicycle Licensing, to Title 4 of the Costa Mesa Municipal Code to comply with that California law. We had a first reading on February 7th and a second reading on the 21st with passage. The second part of my presentation has to do with next steps, and we were already in the process of looking into Project 529, which is an app-based bicycle licensing program. And we'd already started this research prior to the bicycle omnibus bill being passed. So what Project 529 is, it's an app-based program that participants can voluntarily register bicycles online. If their bicycle is ever lost or stolen, they can post that online and use the power of social media and the other people on the app to be on the lookout for their bicycle. They can also search the app for that bicycle if someone else was to try to register it. So this program is completely free to use, it's completely voluntary, and the police department will not be using it for any licensing enforcement. There will be no licensing enforcement, period. The app, what we will be using the app for, though, is to check any bicycles that are booked into our property as evidence or for safekeeping. We'll check this Project 529 database to see if anyone has ownership of the bike or has registered the bike, so we can reunite it with its owner. Any bicycles, our police officers can also access the app in the field. If we detain someone, we can check bicycles to see if they're reported stolen in the app, but we can't make arrests based solely on the app. We would have to establish probable cause to make any arrests based upon our own independent investigation. One of the other things that we're doing is we've purchased about 1,500 529 shields, and they're basically stickers that are individually serialized, and after people get their bike registered on the 529 project, they can come into the police station and get one of these shields to put on their bike as a possible deterrent to let other people know that it is registered online. So we're going to be going live in the coming weeks. These are a couple samples of some social media posts or posters that we're going to be putting up. This QR code is not live just yet, but anyone will be able to use this QR code at a later time, and that will take you to the Costa Mesa page on the 529 project. So it's our specific page for us here in the city of Costa Mesa. It explains how to get bikes registered. It explains if your bike is ever stolen or lost, how you can file on 529 and then also file with the police department. And then it'll also, as we get some experience in the program, it'll also keep stats and provide details on how many bikes we've reunited and different things of that nature. So as part of our marketing or launch campaign, I'll call it, obviously we'll be using social media. We already have one news agency or a newspaper interested in doing an article on the launch. We're also going to be collaborating with local retail bicycle shops. They can actually, at point of sale, have people register their bikes. They don't really need to get us involved. They can go right to it, use that QR code. We'll be doing printed material and posting that in places like City Hall lobby, the police department lobby, library, community centers, anywhere else that would be public and might have a good get eyes on it. We'll also be using it in bicycle rodeos, and then currently Vanguard University already requires its students to register bikes at the university. So they've asked to join our program, and they'll be registering all their students' bicycles as well. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions about the bicycle licensing or Project 529.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any commissioner questions at this time? Commissioner Glab, go ahead.
When you say motorized, is that electric bikes? You said it said bikes and motorized bikes?
So I think the bicycle licensing ordinance originally did say that. It was bicycle and motorized bicycle licensing. That was what we've repealed. But yes, for the electric bikes that are all the rage, you can use the 529 project to register those bikes as well.
And just a quick question, are you seeing an uptick in electric bikes being stolen? I don't know if that's, can I ask that question?
You can ask,
Okay.
Sure, why not?
Okay.
I mean, yes, I mean, bicycle theft, electric bicycle theft is something that's occurring regularly and has. I mean, I've been here for going on 28 years, and it's just part of, unfortunately, normal crime patterns. Okay. So I can't say that it's increased necessarily, but with the prevalence of electric bicycles, yes, we are seeing more of those being stolen.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right. I just have a quick question to close us out. You mentioned Vanguard. Do you know if that's policy at OCC as well?
I don't, but I'm sure we'll be reaching out with the director of security over there and explaining the program to them.
Awesome. Oh, we do have one more. Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
In my neighborhood, I see a lot of people going by with bikes that I have to wonder if they're stolen or not. Can you walk me through what happens? So your officers, are engaging with somebody on the street. They think the bike, how do they go about determining whether the bike is stolen? Will they just automatically enter bicycle information into the app to figure out?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, can you walk me through what does
Sure.
that look like?
Sure. So there's a couple different ways. There's many databases that we can search. So if a bicycle is stolen and someone knows their serial number when we take a report, not only can that person, if they're a part of Project 529, enter it into the databases and Project 529 is stolen, but we would also take that as part of our report, and our records personnel would enter that into a stolen property database. So just any serialized stolen property, doesn't have to be a bicycle, can be entered into that database. When we stop someone and we have reason to stop them and detain them, and they're a bicyclist and they have a bicycle in their possession, one of the things, just like if we were to stop someone driving a car, we would run the license plate of a vehicle on the stop. Same thing's true on a bicycle stop. The officer can run that serial number through the stolen property database. They could also access the 529 project from their mobile computer in their car or their phones, and they could also search it that way.
Awesome. Well, with that, I think that closes out the presentation. So thank you again for making the time to join us
Chair?
tonight.
Would you like to open public comment?
I don't believe we have to open public comment for this presentation item. Director Minter, can you comment on that?
We haven't historically done a lot of presentations. I don't believe that when council's done that they open its public comment, but I can make sure I follow up for the next meeting.
That sounds good. Thank you.
If people do have public comments that they'd like to at least share, they can do so in the very next section on the agenda.
Sounds good. I appreciate the suggestion. We will go ahead and take public comments right after this, actually, because that is next on the agenda. So with that, thank you again for your time, Lieutenant. We appreciate you joining us tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And now we will move on to public comments on our agenda for matters not listed on the agenda tonight. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. If anyone would like to make a public comment, you can line up at the podium at this time. And your mic is on if you want to go ahead, sir.
Okay,
You have
good
3
evening.
minutes.
My name is Tom Treen. I'm a longtime Costa Mesa citizen, resident. While playing pickleball at the downtown recreation center, one of the people that I was playing with turned me on to the fact that there is a pickleball court at Tanager Park. And so, it's an outdoor court. So I went over there and checked it out. And I was really, I have an observation and a suggestion. I was very impressed with the quality of the construction. It's top of the line court, but it's kind of incomplete. And as a pickleball player, the missing element for that court is a kind of a little fence boundary around the court, not completely around the court. I gave Commissioner Garcia Arcos a diagram of what I thought would be a decent solution to this. But if you're playing, you don't want to be fetching the ball all the time. It's all over the place, and that really inhibits, I think, full usage of that court. And Costa Mesa has already put some really good money. I mean, it's a quality court. It's just missing that last element. And my suggestion would be like about a 4-foot fence, something about that high, so you don't trip over it, but it stops the ball. And then the neighbors or the community would really, that court would be used. And I don't know if this was part of the plan to make it kind of incomplete, but that court would get a lot of use, and certainly Costa Mesa would get its money's worth. So, and I spoke to someone in the recreation department, and they told me the fact that this meeting was going to occur, so I decided to present here. I will also make this suggestion at the city council, because kind of climbing up the ladder of the bureaucracy sometimes gets things done. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for coming tonight and providing your feedback, and I hope that the team will take note of those pieces of input and see what we can do. And the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi, Director Minter. I was attending in follow-up for Brentwood Park to see if there had been any schedule of community input meetings for the $250,000 allocation to upgrade the playground.
We don't usually do back and forth during public comment, but
Oh,
right
it's
after
just-
we close
okay.
public comment, Director Minter can make a comment, if that sounds good.
Normally, I would do it in my director's report, is how we've done
We'll
it.
do it in his director's report, excuse me.
But that means you get to stay for even longer.
Okay, approximately how long would that be?
Till she runs out of energy. No.
That's endless. She will outrun you all.
Looking at the agenda, it could be a half hour or so.
Okay, that's fine. All right, thank you.
We'll try to get to it as quickly as we can. All right, seeing no more public comments in the chamber, we'll move if there's any members of the public that wish to comment over Zoom. You can raise your hand at this time.
Zoom attendee Hank Castanetti, you may speak.
Hi, good evening, commissioners and staff. I'm Hank Castagnetti from the Orange County Model Engineers. We operate the Goat Hill Mackerel Flats and Goat Hill Junction Railroad in Fairview Park. I just wanted to let everybody know that last month we gave over 3,500 free rides when we were open to the public. And in researching our records, we can't find that we have equaled or exceeded that in the history of the club, and the club's been there for 30 years. So we think that was a record breaker. So I wanted to remind everybody that this month, the club will be open on the 18th and the 19th, Saturday and Sunday, for free rides, and we encourage everybody in the city of Costa Mesa to come on over and ride with us. And we would also like to thank the city staff for all the support and encouragement that we get, because without you folks, we wouldn't have given 3,500 plus rides last month. So we're hoping the weather cooperates with us. And again, come on by, and enjoy the trains, have a free ride, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you and have a good night.
Awesome. Thank you, Hank. We look forward to seeing you there next weekend, too.
If there are any other members on Zoom who would like to speak, please raise your hand. Chair, there are no other members.
Awesome. Thank you. We will close public comment at this time and now turn it over to commissioner comments, questions, suggestions. So we'll start on the left this time, if that's cool, over in Eastside Costa Mesa with Commissioner Wright. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Rutherford. Also, I'm the at-large commissioner. Thank you for having me today. I do have a few questions to get on everyone's radar unrelated to agenda items. The first one is I would like to thank Councilmember Chavez for walking his district with me and touring his parks with me this month, especially in light of our capital projects in his district. I also was wondering if we had decided on dates for the Brentwood Park community input dates and the Ketchum, Livel, and Shalimar Park dates, so we'll make sure to circle back on that during the director's report. I wanted to follow up on a public comment that was brought at a council meeting recently about the senior center's microwave and ice maker request as well, so possibly a status update on that. And I'm looking forward to our study session with council on Tuesday. That will be all.
Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner Wright, and thank you for correcting me, reminding me that you're the mayor's appointment. We'll turn it over now to District 3. Commissioner Wall, the floor is yours. Great to see you tonight.
Good to be here, and thank you for that. As this is my first meeting, because I was a bad boy last month and I went off on a cruise, but it was pre-planned for 6 months before this appointment took place. So it's good to be here. Good to be recommended by a dear friend of mine that we share some history with, and that's Andrea Marr. Although I have to say that she's Navy, I'm Marine Corps, so I'll give her a break on that one. But yeah, we both spent some time on carriers. She is an engineer, me as a pilot. And so I just hope I don't embarrass her during my tenure here, but it's good to be here. And I know a lot of people around, been around the city for quite a while, served as the president of Mesa Verde Community, Inc. for 2 years. So I know the neighborhood pretty well, so I just look forward to serving. Thanks.
Well, thank you for lending your insights with us on PACS. Next, we'll go over to District 5, Commissioner Brown.
Good evening. I actually wanted to talk about soccer fields for a moment. Soccer has begun again, at least for my daughter in AYSO, and so they play at Harper Park. And we had a game on Saturday, and I heard a bunch of parents asking about upkeep of the fields. It's been a rough season on the grasses, and so the field is not the easiest to play on. And so I just heard some parents talking about it, which made me realize I should probably ask about that field in particular. Curious if there are any, if there will be any work on those fields in the future. But stepping back a bit, I was also curious just to learn about the process of how we upkeep our soccer fields, especially those that aren't maybe the major ones. So just I'm curious to learn about the process, especially so I can take it back to some of the other parents. I also wanted to do a better job serving as your liaison to the Fairview Park meeting. Last night we had a roughly 2.5-hour meeting. It was a special meeting. Normally we meet every other month, but last night was a special meeting. And one of the items on the agenda was a restoration project that will hopefully be started soon. That's a collaboration with the city and with the Banning Ranch Conservancy and the Institute for Conservation Research and Education. And it seemed like many of the members, I'm a non-voting member, it seemed like most of the members were really excited about that partnership, and we'll look forward to that restoration beginning. So I just wanted to share that news with you all. And then the rest of the conversation last night was around the capital improvement projects. So Mr. Dalton presented a list of some of the CIP projects for the committee for them to hear about. And one of the things that I found of interest was that the committee really wanted to have greater detail in terms of the CIP projects. There was a robust conversation around wanting more detail around the financing, where they were at in the projects, and also just a real emphasis on wanting to be a part of the process, so seeing themselves as people, as very invested members around the table, and asking for the city and others to count on them to do a greater review. So I wanted to bring some of the meeting back. It's obviously more detailed than that. It was 2.5 hours long, but those were some of the highlights. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. And we'll go over now to District 1, Commissioner Glab, if you have any comments tonight.
No comments.
Awesome. And then to round us out, Commissioner Garcia Arcos, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to talk shortly about creating different programs to bring back our urban forestry. I think there's been different there's been different actions that have been taken. For example, the root system has been destroyed when they put in the pavers, and they also put in sidewalks. So because of that, there have been fallen trees. I spoke with Mayor on Saturday when he came over to Labors of Love, and he said that that's a big liability. So we want to make sure that the new trees that we plant now, we have a better understanding of how to plant them, how to properly prune them, how to structure them right, so that when in the future they grow out to be mature and it's going to be less of a liability. I did speak with Sims Tree Health Specialist Incorporation. She's a board certified master arborist, and in her quote, she says she's dedicated to preservation, education, improved health, and safety of trees since 1972. So she has a program that she's been implemented up north that's called Citizen Arborist, and I put quote, quote, Costa Mesa, because we got to empower our citizens to be our eyes out there. We create more arborists. And she says all she needs is a shout out. That's it. And we can collaborate with her. She's going to bring her group to do it for free if we do that, or there's going to be a cost if we don't want to do a shout out. But that's an ability to have more eyes out there. And we're planning on doing another on May 20th. There is a planting in course, but I'm going to get more information on that. So everybody's welcome to come in Shalimar. There's going to be a few different events. Those events will range from different people throughout the whole area within the west side. And yeah, let's encourage canopy coverage all around Costa Mesa. So that's all I got to say for now.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Commissioner Garcia Arcos, tonight. And then before we move on, I just will share a quick few comments tonight. I appreciate you joining us tonight and sharing your concern about Brentwood Park. I know the director and Vice Chair Dorn Parker and commissioners, we've had a number of conversations about what it looks like to have a more complete and clear tracking of all these CIP projects, where they're at, and that info presented to the public on a regular basis, ideally in the director's report. But you know, we're collaborating with the team on that, so I'm sure Jason can speak more to that in his director's report section, but we're definitely looking for more transparency about where those projects are at, so that way we can, you know when to chime in, or, you know, you can have your public input informed by that information. So I do think that's important. So Director Minter, if you could speak to the overall CIP project status in your director's report, I think that would be much appreciated. And then also just wanted to follow up, Commissioner Wright, I appreciate your also email follow-up about the senior center issue that was brought up to City Council. I just want to take it as an opportunity to remind everybody that the city has a wonderful app, the My Costa Mesa app. And so when you see things out and about, whether it's something in one of the community facilities that needs attention, or if it's a sidewalk that's lifted and needs some grinding, use the app, use the My Costa Mesa app. The city departments are incredibly responsive to handling those issues. I think you'll be quite surprised how responsive they are. So I encourage everybody, download the app and make as much use of it as you can. So with that, we'll close commissioner comments. The first item of old business on our agenda is the minutes. And if there's any commissioner comments on the minutes, or if we could entertain a motion at this time.
And just to be clear, even if you weren't at the meeting, you can still vote on the minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for adding that, Director Minter.
Yes, hi. I observed one or two clerical errors at the top. Commissioner Wall was marked as present for this meeting, which he unfortunately was not. And Chair Rutherford was marked as attending via Zoom, which he did not. It was actually me. Do we see under the roll call section with the X's?
We can make those adjustments.
Boxed.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. I'd like to move approval of the minutes with those edits as mentioned by Commissioner Wright. Oh, I gotta make, and motion seconded by Commissioner Brown, thank you. And we're using the buttons to cast our votes.
Motion carries 6-0 to approve the February 9th meetings with the adjustments.
Wonderful, thank you, everybody. Next item on our agenda, item number 2 of old business, is the proposed changes to the municipal code section, Title 312. And we will turn it over, Director Minter. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. This item is a continuation from last month for an issue that we first brought to the commission back in December, looking for direction from the commission about if they would like to see something returned to the commission for review. The item was agendized for the February 9th meeting. However, shortly before the meeting, staff did find some changes or some issues that they wanted to address before the commission approved it. So there was some substantial changes to one of the sections, 12-53. After some discussion at the meeting, there was a request from the commission that they have more time to review it, which was probably a great idea and oversight on staff's part. So we bring the full report back to the full commission. We did want to just point out there are 2 attachments to this item. The first one shows all of the marked up changes. The second attachment should be a clean version of that same document. If there are any questions of the commissioners, staff are available to answer them. If the commission were to approve it tonight, we would start the queuing process to get it approved by the city council. It will require a public hearing and then a second hearing after that for the second reading of that ordinance for any changes that are recommended. And with that, available to answer any questions.
Awesome. We'll open it up to commissioners for any questions. Then we'll take public comment, and then we'll see if we can move this on. I will say thank you again to Director Minter and your team for putting this on our agenda and initiating this conversation. I think it's an important conversation that we have, an important update that needs to be made. Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Very, very small changes. If you look at section 12.4, there's something referred to as a plat multiple times. I think you mean plan. So just very small grammatical changes there. But throughout that paragraph, it references a plat. So unless I'm getting that wrong, that would be one place to edit.
No, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up because I too thought that was a misspelling. However, I looked up the word plat and it is actually a plot of land. And for those of you that were reading it with your fine-tooth combs, there was also a reference to a dray. For those of you that don't know what a dray is, it's a cart used for carrying barrels, like for beer. So I think we all can learn a little bit tonight, a plat and a dray. So, but thank you for reading it and catching it because I had my little notes just in case.
Awesome. Are there any other commissioner comments or questions? Commissioner Walden, Commissioner Wright, go ahead.
In 12.5, where there's a definition of parkway, I've sometimes gotten confused about the definition or the comparison between parkway and easement. Are they the same? Are they different? And what are the differences if they are?
I don't have a distinct difference. I think easement can be quite a few different things depending to who owns the property and who has rights to the property. But I think in this case, it can be the same, one and the same.
Okay, thank you.
The city may own it, but the whoever owns the property towards the house side of the sidewalk would technically be the holders of the easement. Do you want to clarify that, Rob?
No, that was actually pretty good. A parkway is generally the front space between the street and the sidewalk in front of a business or a home. That's typically a parkway. There may be an easement within that parkway for various utilities. An easement's just kind of a right to come in and provide services or to work on utilities and that type of thing. So the easement's a little bit different. It's just a little bit of a permission to come in and have access to.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Wright is good. So I think then at this time, seeing no more questions, we'll open this up if there's any members of the public that would like to comment on this. If there's anybody in the chambers, you can line up at this time. Good evening, Mr. Garcia.
Good evening. Good evening, Commission and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I would just like to reiterate my wholehearted support of the change. As a resident of Costa Mesa and a regular park user, I think it is very valuable to increase the quantity from, or the number from 10 to 25. So, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Are there any members of the public comment over Zoom?
If there are any other members of the public on Zoom who wish to speak, please raise your hand. There are no comment.
Awesome. At this time, we'll close public comment and bring this back to the commission. If anybody would like to make a motion or further comments.
I move that we accept the proposed changes.
We should be doing it electronically. If you can use your buttons for motions.
Awesome. I think
we
we
can all
did
vote
that right,
electronically.
Director
You can vote
Mentor. We got the electronic motion by Commissioner Brown. I'll go ahead and second that. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. And I think it's appropriate to call the question at this time.
Do they want to comment to their motion?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Do you want to speak to your motion at all, Commissioner Brown? All right.
Motion carries 6-0 to approve the proposed changes to the Municipal Code, Title 12, Sections 12-1 through 12-55.
Awesome. Thank you. That's really exciting that we could get this approved and now in the queue to City Council. But I think it was almost 4 years ago when I first started bringing this item up and asking questions about it. So it's been, quite a journey to get here and a little bit more of a journey to go, but we'll get there soon. So thank you again, Director Mentor. I appreciate your collaboration on this.
We will keep the commission updated for those of you that would like to appear at that city council meeting when it's on the agenda in case there's questions or if commissioners would like to speak on behalf of their recommendation.
Sounds good. All right. Well, that closes us out of old business. Now we're going to move on to new business. There's one item of new business, and that is the 2022 annual report from Major League Softball. Ms. Villasenor, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Tonight before you is the annual report from Major League Softball, or Adult Softball League contract operator. They've been our contractor since 2015. They are required to present an annual report every year just on their statistics and any major updates. Noting in here that during the pandemic period, we reduced our split fee with the contractor to accommodate, less play, less players, and playability. But since then, we have returned to our normal rate split. So the report is before you. If you have any questions about it, they have a very successful year, despite there being rain and weather delays. They were able to have regular seasons, so that was great. But that's the update, and the report is in front of you. I'm here for questions if you have them.
Awesome. Thank you. Are there any commissioner questions at this time? Any comments? All right. Well, as a decade-long baseball player myself, I always appreciate an update on that front. So thank you, Monique.
Chair
And then
Rutherford.
we'll open this item for any public comments as well. If there's any members of the public who wish to comment, you can line up at the podium at this time or raise your hand on Zoom. Doesn't look like we have anybody in chamber. Are there anybody on Zoom?
Chair, there are no members on Zoom who would like to speak.
Awesome. We will close public comment. And that closes us out of new business and takes us to the monthly reports. We have two. The first is the Park Ranger report. Director Mentor, would you like to make any comments on the Park Ranger report?
Just one thing, just for the members of the public that may have looked at the agenda or whatever, this was an item that was not available as the posting of the agenda. For those of you that know our brief history, we had relatively recently changed our PAX Commission meetings from the fourth Thursday of the month to the second Thursday of the month. What that does is compress the amount of the time that we have to prepare the agenda. We do appreciate the support from our police department and our park rangers, but our compressed deadline sometimes makes it difficult to get this report to you. So I can't say this is the last time it would not make the actual posting of the agenda, but we really appreciate the park ranger support in providing this information. I don't have anything else to add. I know there's a few things on the report that were a little bit different than I was used to seeing. Some of the Orange County ordinances that were just related more to trespassing. But as I mentioned earlier, Lieutenant Watkins is available, and perhaps he can answer any questions if it's more related to code. And that's it.
Sounds good. Thank you, Director Minter. Are there any commissioner questions or comments at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll open this up to public comments. If there's any members of the public that have a comment on the park ranger report, now is the time. Are there any members of the public on Zoom?
Chair, there are no members on Zoom.
Awesome. We'll close public comments on the park ranger report, and that takes us to the director's report. So Director Minter, the floor is yours.
I feel like a drum roll, you know, like maybe we'll work a little soundtrack in to get a drum roll for the director's report. I feel like I should kind of start with Brentwood Park, just because. Although in starting with Brentwood Park, I have to say I don't necessarily have great news. There is some good news. I know our public works staff had gone out there and looked at some of the logistical issues that we want to address when we're looking at the playground. Some of those things include making sure there's proper drainage, sidewalks, and accessibility, not just the playground equipment itself. The money that was identified in the current fiscal year budget, fiscal year 22-23, was only $250,000. Staff were looking to add to that for this budget cycle. It is a project that can be discussed at the City Council meeting next Tuesday, and it can also be discussed when the CIP or the Capital Improvement Program is presented to the Commission next month. One of the challenges that we're having is a fantastic challenge, and it's something I'll address a little bit later, but due to the influx of grant funds from our Supervisor Foley's office, Assemblywoman Petrie Norris's office, and Senator Min's office, is we've created a kind of a backlog of projects that are all have a pretty tight turnaround in terms of time. So one of the challenges of staff and some of the discussions that we'll hear next week are about just prioritizing, because if we don't use that money, we will lose it. And that's going to kind of dictate some of the priority in terms of these projects. But it's still on our radar, and we definitely welcome public comment, because that can help, you know, determine what goals that the council brings forward. In addition to that, we do have a City Council strategic planning retreat that takes place tomorrow. That's being held at the Norma Herzog Community Center. It is a meeting or a retreat that is open to the public. For those of you that have nothing better to do on a Friday, they will be talking about all of the strategic goals that the City Council has basically for the next year and even for the next 2 to 3 years. So it's not just related to capital projects, but it's also related to things like housing, sustainability, all those types of activities will be discussed tomorrow. And again, that's where the City Council sets their strategic goals for the coming years. So that's the Brentwood Park report. Just to get that out of the way, I did want to go to a couple of things. Staff are looking to bring an update on the community gardens, or at least the Del Mar Gardens, to one of our next meetings, just so they can, the council or the commission can get an update on the number of people. I know it had been a concern expressed before about the number of people that were on the wait list for Del Mar. We do have some strategies in place that staff will be sharing with you. I think I will turn it over to Monique to talk about programs, and then I'll continue with the rest of my report.
Okay, I will keep it brief. But before you are the updated numbers and of a lot of our ongoing programs, I just wanted to highlight a few things that we are working on. One really exciting feature that we have coming to some of our programming is something that includes inclusive, adaptive, and all abilities programming. So looking to start some of that kind of programming and inclusivity in the fall for all abilities. So that's something exciting that is going to be new coming forward to our programming. Our youth organization leagues have experienced a little bit of delay in some of our field closures, and that might be a segue for Rob for field maintenance, but our youth sports leagues, we had a cancellation in Little League and Pony opening days. Pony has officially rescheduled their opening day, I think, to this Saturday, pending no rain, hopefully. So we can keep anybody updated on that if they wish. But other than that, we look forward to a lot of April events coming up. We have our Spring Fest event coming up. We have our Spring Bark Bash. I don't know if it's on here. It's not on here, but we also have an Earth Day event Saturday, April 22nd, right outside in the front lawn. So if you went to our event here last year, we had a lot of great vendors, activities. So we're looking to expand that and continue that tradition here on the front lawn on Saturday, April 22nd from 10 to 2. So come and check that out. And just with that, we are already in full summer planning mode, so gearing up for a very busy summer as well. That's it.
Thank you, Monique. Before I continue, I did want to, the representative from our Public Works Department, Rob Ryan, has a couple things he wanted to share on behalf of the maintenance side. So, Rob, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Director Minter. Just a couple of items to kind of encapsulate what maintenance staff has done in a few of the parks over the last month. At Balearic Playgrounds, they replaced 2 benches that were around the playground. They were previously removed. They were rusted and no longer safe. So those were missing for a little while. We were able to order new benches, get some new concrete installed, and put them in a little better place. So those are back, and people are enjoying them now. Wilson Park, we're currently in the process of working on a project to replace the bridges at Wilson Park, the wooden bridges. Right now, those bridges are in pretty bad shape. Staff went through and made some repairs, some temporary repairs, to make them safe and still usable for park goers to enjoy the trails there. At Angels Playground, we repaired some damaged rubberized surface in the last couple of days. The playground was down for a couple of days. To get in there and replace some divots, some chunks that were missing from the playground to make sure it's safe and that rubberized surfacing. And staff also took the time to take advantage of that and replace a few pieces of equipment that had become worn, some climbers, ladders, a piece of chain climber, in order just to keep up with the demand of that playground. At the Team Week Athletic Complex, we replaced some of the wooden backstops that were damaged and needed repair. So, and those were painted and ready for use now through the season. So, that was all the ones I wanted to highlight. In terms of field maintenance, so I don't know if you had any specific questions. Harper is maintained by the school district, not the city. We have a few fields that we do maintain through our contract with Brightview. They do go through annual renovations, as does the school district. I believe they're generally in the summertime. They go through annual renovations, as do the city fields. Typically, do have some winter closures as well to be able to do some maintenance on those. But if you have any specific questions with regards to maintenance, I can answer generally about city fields, but sure. Thank you.
All right, and continue on. I do appreciate our liaison to the Fairview Park Steering Committee, Commissioner Brown, for bringing up a couple of the pieces. The second Saturday restoration event has been taking place for quite a while in partnership with the Fairview Park Alliance, but we are also, as was mentioned, working with Banning Ranch Conservancy and the ICRE on another additional restoration day. We're looking to schedule that on the 3rd Saturday of the month. So if for some reason you can't go on the 2nd Saturday of the month, you can go on the 3rd one. When it comes to the upcoming 2nd Saturday, it might be canceled due to inclement weather. So just keep an eye out if you're looking to volunteer on our restoration days. Those are fantastic. It does involve some work, a lot of non-native removals, but every once in a while, like we did last December, or January, we get to do some planting. So, keep an eye out for the fun ones that are the planting. But it's great when we get volunteer groups connecting with staff and with our partner organizations to take care of restoration efforts. In the capital project update report, obviously I mentioned Brentwood Park, where we are still in the preliminary design of that. Working with a couple of different vendors, that some of which had been recommended, by the community about, playground equipment opportunities and trying to get more out of that park system. The Fairview Park Master Plan update is underway. We've had a kickoff meeting with the consultant, MIG. It's a fantastic organization, and we're really looking forward to the quality of the update for the Fairview Park Master Plan, as it will help set, new goals and objectives for Fairview Park. It's a shame it wasn't done 2 years ago, so it would be in time for, the influx of money, but you will hear quite a bit of discussion about the Fairview Park-related projects if you're able to come on Tuesday or when it comes back before the commission in April. I do reference a couple of the other ones. These were in my update before. There really isn't much to update other than stay tuned because they will be up for discussion, over the next few weeks. The funding from Supervisor Foley's office, that was specific to 2 projects that she picked out. So we really don't have a lot of latitude on, what we do with those projects. However, it will be, projects that we do invite the community to provide input. So it's not, it's not set in stone what exactly the parameters of the project will be, or I'm sorry, the parameters of the project are set, but maybe some nuances or requests from the community can still be taken. And that goes for the 2 Supervisor Foley's office projects, as well as the Ketchum-Liebolt Park. There will be, we're working with a consultant now for outreach opportunities to the community for that, as well as for the Shalimar Park project. The other sites that are listed there, again, those are going to be up for discussion next Tuesday, and I'm sure they'll come up, when we have our strategic planning session tomorrow. I did want to mention the art crawl. As of about 5 o'clock, we still had 2 spaces available. That's for the art crawl that's this Saturday. It starts about 2 o'clock. I think you want to get to City Hall about 1:30. There will be a shuttle that takes the group of about 25 people to 2 different local artist students or studios to learn a little bit about how they do it. I think one of them will have an interactive experience. And then the final stop for the art crawl is the Orange County Museum of Art, where you'll get kind of a behind the scenes look at what goes on and how they bring things into the museum. So if you're interested, please let Monique know before you go home tonight, and we'll try to make sure that you have a spot. And we can let you know probably by email in the morning if there is a spot available for you. So we want that to be full. I am planning on being there. So, I'm always looking to expand my breadth of arts-related knowledge. About to some of the topics that were brought up during public comment and then commissioners' comments. The Tanager Pickleball Court, I think it turned out fantastic. And, for those of you that were unfamiliar with the project before, the public kind of made it a pickleball court before the city did. So they made some temporary lines, brought in their own portable nets. So they were playing there on one court, and then the one court wasn't enough to satisfy their demand. So then they started chalking in 2 courts. And then the 2 courts, it just wasn't, a high enough standard, but luckily it was a vacated basketball court. Thanks to our public works team for putting, scraping together the funding to kind of at least get that portion of the project done, where we were able to expand the concrete footprint to allow for 2 regulation courts with permanent nets. Fencing wasn't included at the time. We kind of wanted to see how it went, what the neighborhood feedback was. And it is something that we can explore or look into. I like the idea of a 4-foot fence. So it's just going to be about, putting that in the kind of the project queue. It may not be enough for a capital project request, but it's something that we'll definitely consider and I think would be appropriate for that facility. We didn't want like a big 6 or 8-foot fence to kind of dominate that neighborhood park, but I think a smaller fence is justifiable. And so, it's something we can definitely explore. I mentioned Brentwood Park. With regards to the senior center issues, yes, staff were aware of the ice machine request. In lieu of the ice machine not working, we were making sure that we bought ice and had ice on site, every single day or when we had programs. So, rest assured, the seniors did have access to ice. The pool tables, I think the felt replacement has been scheduled. It's something that they do periodically, and we're always welcome to take suggestions from the public. I'd rather they come to staff than say it at a council meeting, but however works for people. It's I think the ultimate goal is we want to provide quality pool tables for our seniors. There is a microwave on site. I know that was a request. There's been some issues with the microwave, so they do have it in an area where staff can assist seniors if they do want to use a microwave. But for some reason, it was stated that there wasn't a microwave there, so I'm not sure what the misinterpretation was there. And then we're working with a vending machine company. It's I don't think it gets a lot of use, but that comment was made too. So, we do encourage all of our members of the senior center to talk to staff. We have an amazing a group of staff out there that really do a great job, and there's so many programs. I don't know if you ever want to know what's going on at the senior center. There is a senior center newsletter that gets published monthly. And it is so full of opportunities and activities, from social services to, kind of, I knuckle bumped the mic button, to, other, car groups and just so many opportunities. In fact, one of the senior activities that's coming up, I believe they have a bus trip to ACMA, toward the Orange County Museum of Art, to take a tour. So those are all exciting things, but you can subscribe to the Senior Center newsletter. Just if you want, send Laura an email and we'll make sure you get on the distribution list and it comes emailed to you. And it's a pretty fantastic document. We don't have a senior commission right now, but it's something that we can discuss because there was in the past a senior liaison that had been identified. So if one of you has a particular affinity for seniors, that's something we can put on a future agenda to have one of you selected as the liaison representing senior programs. And we can talk about the duties or what that would require in the future. So that's the Senior Center update. Harper Park, like Rob mentioned, it's a school, but it's also a park. So it's a school and a park. It's kind of like an easement thing where if you are on Tustin and you walk through the gate to where the playground is, the city has a lease agreement with the school district for like the first 50, 60 feet, something like that. We're trying to find a map. We can't find the actual map, but there was like a 45-year agreement made, a bunch of years ago, and then they renewed it for another 50 years or something like that. So that's just so the city has what we call a park on the Tustin side of it. The city does maintain or does mow the park portion of it, but the school district maintains the other side. I thought that in some recent conversations with the district that they had just renovated that field, so I don't know if anybody's seen it in the last few years, but they are working on kind of a temporary pilot program to help curb some of the dog off leash and playground related issues. So stay tuned for that, and if I do get more information on that, I'm happy to share that with the commission. I mentioned the council study session. I mentioned the art crawl. I think for the capital projects update, I've gone through some of the ones on the list. All of these at this point are still potential capital projects. The first step for staff, once the city council kind of gives more clear direction on which ones the council wants to move forward, we need to submit applications for the grant funding. So even though it's been approved, there's still a process that we have to go through, and each project will require a separate grant application. So those things do take time. The lead on that is the Public Works Department, and then we're going to be assisting, on the program side to help with some of the park-related projects like skate park expansion, seeing how the impacts of the LED light upgrades affect user groups, and so we're definitely involved in that, but we do rely on our Public Works Department for a lot of the management of those projects. So if anybody has more park-specific or project-specific questions, I don't have much to update since my last report. And I think that covers everything. If there's anything that you think I left out, please let me know.
Great report. Thank you, Director Minter and team. I think before we go to the commission, we'll quickly see if there's any members of the public that would like to comment on the director's report. So we'll open up public comments at this time. If there's anybody seeing nobody in the chambers, if there's anybody on Zoom, Ms. Vitari?
If there's any members on Zoom who would like to speak, please raise your hand. Chair, I see no hands raised.
Awesome, thank you. And we'll bring it back to the commission at this time. I normally go last, but I just quickly wanted to take a moment of privilege to ask a perhaps preemptive question and report that Director Minter and I have had a good conversation about the open space master plan, where that's at. I figured other people might be curious about where that's at. So Jason, if you would be able to provide that update, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry I left that off. So the open space master plan is what I've been calling it, but until this past month, I'm going to rephrase. So it's not specifically an open space master plan. It's an open space and recreational programs master plan. So there's so much more into it than just parks and open space. It's a lot about programming. It's a lot about partnerships with things like the school district and other organizations. It talks about park stewardship. So there's just a lot of components to it. For the newer commissioners, I had teased that we were bringing the open space master plan before the commission back in like the October meeting. Did not get the draft copy from the consultant until shortly before that meeting, and quickly realized it was not even close to being something that was ready to present. Unfortunately, that competing projects, I haven't been able to dedicate all of the time and resources to it, but we are very close to having it ready for presentation to the commission in what will most likely be a joint meeting with the city council, as was requested by one of the council members. So not sure exactly when or how that will happen. I know we've teased joint meetings just this week, so I'm sorry for that. But I think it would be a great opportunity for the commission to engage in a meeting with the city council to talk specifically about parks related projects, but more importantly, it's about programs and other opportunities as well. So it's not just, a single focus of like CIP park type projects. So I think that's the update. In terms of timeline, there's, the competing priorities is always going to be something that I have to balance, but in working with other departments, because Public Works is involved, and I thank Rob for his help in updating. It's kind of amazing, when I look at our Public Works section, and I'm glad Rob volunteered to speak tonight about some of the things maintenance has been doing, but they really are an outstanding maintenance division, and they do projects before we even ask them to complete them. And in looking at the Fairview Park Master Plan draft, that was, or sorry, not the Fairview, the Open Space and Recreational Program Master Plan draft that was prepared back in 2017, 2018 to go through the list of projects that were recommended and just sit with Rob and realize how many have been completed already. Replacement of pergolas, he talked about the bridges at the lakes, like little things like that are things that need to be updated in this plan. And there's a great deal of things that have been completed since the draft was done. So, there's a lot of legwork to it, working with finance department because there is some budget information in there. There are references to the Fairview Developmental Center. So there's just, it's way more involved than just a simple open space master plan report. And we do want those to be really comprehensive documents that can guide us as a department, you as a commission, and then the city council moving forward with all the things that are included in there. So that's my update on the open space and recreational program master plan.
Coming soon to a meeting near you. Are there any commissioner comment? Don't worry, I have a few more questions, but are there any other commissioner questions or comments, please, at this time? All right. Oh, Commissioner Garcia Arcos, go ahead.
So I have a suggestion for Shalimar Park specifically. There was one of the workers that comes out, changes the bags, and she suggested we can have doggy bags in Shalimar Park. We don't have a grass area, so I understand why there isn't a need, but we do have a lot of dogs in the area. So what parents do is they meet together with their children playing in the park, and they do have their dogs as well. So that's just one recommendation that I saw that might benefit the community. And then I did have a question. What strategies do you have to get the attention of youth at risk to join those programs in summer specifically?
You mean like, sorry, just to clarify, like marketing to at-risk youth? So we market all of our programs similar to all the programs because we want to be inclusive of everybody. We do have our downtown recreation center where we flyer all of our sites. So we have Blair Community Center, our city hall, the downtown recreation center area, and the campus over there. Also, we use the, I believe it's called Peach Jar for flyers for the school district as well. And then also social media, is always another way that we connect for all of our programs. So if you go on Instagram, we CM Recreation, I believe that's Laura, if you can. It's CM Recreation on Instagram. So that always has all of our programs, and that's really big with all youth when they're looking at programs. And so really trying to hit the schools and then our teen centers and the parks when we're there. So.
And I think another component, just you focused on at-risk youth. We do have a memorandum of understanding with SOY, the Save Our Youth Teen Center, that's over in the west side. where the agreement states that the city supports soy in a variety of different ways, whether it be providing staff members when we have them available, which we don't currently, but if we don't have staff members available, we do provide reimbursements for their staff that they pay for. So that's one portion of it through the MOU. We also provide assistance with transportation for some of their bus excursions or some of their field trips. And we are trying to work with Soy on trying to find ways to engage the Soy kids with some of the city facilities, whether it be the Downtown Recreation Center, the Downtown Aquatic Center, Luke Davis Field for those things, or even looking, outside of just the west side if we want to create some programming at our other facilities, T-Winkle Athletic Complex or Jack Hammett. So, we are always looking for ways to work with different organizations or collaborate to find ways to engage. The Teen Center at the Downtown Rec Center is, something that we're working on. We're trying to update it. Once we get that done, we do want to do kind of some outreach to make sure that, the youth in the community know that it's available. It is, what I would say is kind of underutilized right now, but we're hoping if we can do some improvements to that program and get that word out there, it'll be a place that the youth are drawn to, with all the things youth want, like, video games and hopefully, members of their community that they, can connect with. I think, we talked about it before, but the key to any good teen program is the staff that you have there. So we're always looking for those teens that can really connect to the youth in that age group, because they're kind of a challenging group to, on their own, and just, wanting to fit in, but not sure quite how to do it. So one of my first programs that I worked as a rec leader was teen programs. So it's near and dear to my heart. And Monique, I think, went through kind of the same thing. So we understand that, but we are looking for ways to engage the teen community, especially on the west side, through the use of the facilities that we have.
I did have another suggestion. My Costa Mesa app, there are some residents that can't read or can't speak the language. So if there's some kind of alternative to go out there, from the city to maybe give a sample and show residents how to use that app, that would be very helpful.
If I can speak to your question, you asked about the dog bag dispensers. It's been kind of a long-standing conversation that we have. It is a great service that we provide to the users of our parks. It is something that we do hope, encourages people to pick up after their pets, to keep our parks clean and safe for all park users. We do kind of struggle with keeping the bags stocked by people that aren't using them in the parks and use it as a free dog bag dispenser. And that's not what the intention of the program is. So we have made some decisions in the past, at least, to focus on areas where dogs would be walking, as you mentioned, the grass area. So, it's not a firm no. It's something that we're always, considering and talking about. But, we do have a funding, issue in trying to make sure that we have enough funds to keep the bag stocked. I don't know if you know off the top of your head about how much we spend on dog bags annually, but it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? No? Millions? It's millions? No. Do you know? Or no? Sorry to put you on the spot.
50s of thousands of dollars?
50s of thousands of dollars. So, it is quite an expense, but, something that we're trying to manage. And, it's not a bad service to provide, but, do you have something?
The issue with the funding has been in the past that the dog licensing fees have supported that program. So it was a self-sustaining program. Over the years, it has grown and grown exponentially to where it's no longer being self-sufficient. So it's requiring funding from other sources, from maintenance sources and things of that nature to keep up with that program. That's part of the funding piece there.
So we're always exploring and trying to find ways to provide that service. But it is, something that we've noted in.
And that's also a good reminder to don't forget to license your pet. You can do that on the third floor upstairs in City Hall Recreation Department.
Nice little segue. But yes, dog license does support that program.
Do you have any more questions, Commissioner? Awesome. And Commissioner Brown, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm really glad that the art crawl is happening. I think that's really exciting. I will admit I'm always very envious of the city of Santa Ana on their social media because they have such a thriving art scene and they really get so many people out and walking around. And I also realize that this is not the Arts Commission, so I need to take this comment to the Arts Commission. You know, one of the arguments that I've heard from people and I've experienced in my life is that sometimes people see art as the domain of the elite. Museums can be scary places to go to. Art isn't always the most welcoming experience, especially if you haven't been trained in it. And my concern is that our first art crawl has 25 open spots, and commissioners are a part of that, and city staff are a part of that. And so it leaves me wondering, how many spots do we have actually for like the general public? And what does it mean to have an art crawl where, you know, even let's say half of them are comprised of those of us who are privileged to be in this body? So it's just something I'm thinking about. So my question that I will take to them is, you know, what's up next? Because I do recognize, you know, you have to start somewhere, you're experimenting. I think one of the challenges that I can see, and I mentioned this last time, is that unlike Santa Ana, which has a downtown with a lot of artist spaces, Costa Mesa is just built differently. You know, and if we knew what we knew now, we might have done it, you know, hopefully we would do it differently. But I think that for me, this raises a larger issue around community engagement that I just want to talk about. I heard it last night at the Fairview steering committee. I heard it from the woman who talked about Brentwood Park. I heard it from a commissioner in terms of taking the Costa Mesa app out and getting engagement with it. So when I look at the so it's a series of comments with a question at the end. I'm sorry, I'm an academic. So when I look at the capital improvement project updates, I see 5 bullet points with some information, and I'm left with a lot of questions. Like, what does the budget line item look like for this? Of that budget line item, how much of that budget have we spent? What's anticipated moving forward? I recognize that this is a conversation that City Council will have, but it would be instructive for me and certainly for the new members to know about that. Are there more than 5 bullet items in our capital improvement projects? Because when I look at this, I don't know if these are just the recent updates, if these are all of the projects. So I'm left with a lot of questions. One of the things that I think we've raised in the past is that we, and I heard it last night too, we as a commission want to be involved. We recognize that there are staffing issues. The burden on staff is intense. We see ourselves as invested participants in the conversation. We would like our expertise to be drawn upon. We'd like to help problem solve. And so I had questions, for example, about when community engagement pieces will be brought to us. So a lot of these projects have community engagement as a part of it. And I wonder to myself, is the commission considered community engagement? And if the answer is yes, if we're a public that would like to be engaged or should be engaged, why not use us before you get to the end? And I'm not proposing half-baked plans come before us. I recognize you need to get things at a certain level. But before things are done, so for example, if you look at the last bullet point, it's being discussed internally and it'll be shared with the commission when details are final. I'm actually proposing to staff that maybe you look at process a little differently, that maybe we as a commission could serve as a sounding board, even if it's just about community engagement, how to do community engagement around Brentwood Park, Fairview Master Plan, and the skate park, for example. We might be sources of input that could help consultants moving forward. I do want to actually propose to the chair, perhaps at a future agenda, for a future agenda, we could have an agenda item that's around community engagement. How the commission can be involved, what does community engagement look like in these various CIP projects, what is the consultant working on? I recognize that any one CIP project is a big one to tackle, but for me, I think community engagement is so critical to making programs strong. I would propose that we consider that as an agenda item.
I appreciate that suggestion, Commissioner Brown. I've also made a career in community engagement, working on a number of real estate projects, transportation projects, you name it. So I think this is a conversation we should continue offline, absolutely, but I think that's an excellent suggestion. So, Director Minter.
I can respond. First, the art crawl, yes, it is our first one. We're very excited about it. We were instructed by ACMA in order to do their portion of it that we limit it to 25 members. So that's kind of where this particular one had the the cap. For future ones, yes, we want them to be bigger, we want them to be broader, but this was kind of the first go around to see what the community engagement was. If you recall, I think we only have four commissioners that are taking up the spots. So, of the group, I think it's very much public. Did you have it? Is it 3? And if you say that I'm taking up a seat, then I will happily give my seat up to someone else, and I made sure staff were aware of that. So I'm sure I'll hear about it. We do have more space at the 2 smaller studios, so if it's something where you want to attend the smaller studios, even if you want to meet there in your car and not take the shuttle, we do want the engagement for as many people as possible, and we will be doing surveys for all those that participate to see what they thought and how we can better their experience for future ones. I don't think we're going to do a dozen of these every year. It's probably going to be limited, but we do want to expand the scope as best as possible, depending on the venues that they're crawling to, if you will. As far as community outreach, I think this is one of the most important ways that we engage the community is through the commission, and not just meeting here at a meeting, but also engaging you as commissioners in a way that you can get out and get feedback from the community. I think, when about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago, Rob and the Public Works team had brought forward 2 playground equipment replacement projects, one at Tanager and then one at Jordan Park, and we're able to use this commission to try to get feedback from the community. So yes, this commission is going to be a critical piece of community outreach. I think at the appropriate time, and the comment that says when details are final, the details that are final just means when we know what projects the City Council wants us to focus on and move forward with. So, for example, we did a grant application for Ketchum-Leibolt Park shortly after I had gotten here. We did 2 community meetings on site. We did 2 Zoom community meetings. I did outreach with the Soy teens because they're in that neighborhood too. So I think we had a total of about 5 community meetings, not including the PAX Commission, where we brought the item before the PAX Commission to review or to get feedback from the community. So just for that grant project alone, that was 6 separate meetings for the community to engage. For all of them, we sent out flyers both in English and Spanish. We had it on our social media sites in both languages, and we worked with groups like Soy to try to get the word out to the communities that may have had challenges with it. So I'm not saying we're perfect in our outreach. I think there's always ways for us to do better, but one of those ways is to engage the commission. I know when we did that meeting, or one of the in-person meetings on a Saturday, Councilmember Chavez was there. He brought his younger sister and I believe his mom to the meeting, and it was represented by about 25 members of the public, which was a great meeting. The tough part about those meetings is you want input from everybody, but when you have 25 people giving their input for a 0.3 acre park, you quickly find that we don't have room for everything. But nonetheless, we will still do community outreach for all of these projects. Like I said, most community outreach will include meetings at the site. So if it's a skate park related, community meeting, we will have them at the skate park in addition to having them here at the commission. So we really try to cast a wide net. We do know that we don't capture everyone, and that's why we do, request support from the commission. It's events like the Barktoberfest or Spring Bark Bash or Spring Fest, that the commission do show up, wear your name badges, bring your business cards if you want, engage members of the community if they happen to come up to you and ask about a project. They can get your contact information before they leave. You can share that with us. And we do keep, quite a few lists of information emails so that we can give updates when those matters come before. So like we had the one Tanager Park community meeting, and I had a list of probably, 24 emails for people that had emailed me over the previous, year requesting information on Tanager Park pickleball, and we were able to send all the information to them. So we try. Like I said, we're not perfect, but any input that you guys have about that process, we're definitely welcome to. If it's something that you'd like us to put on the agenda for a discussion, we can do that in a future meeting as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Braun. Are there any other comments? Cheyenne, go ahead. Or Commissioner Wright, excuse me. I slipped, sorry.
Yes, thank you. I guess to start us off, thank you for addressing the senior center requests and needs. Showing up to City Council public comment is a good way to get my attention at least. So I appreciate that those are being resolved. I'm just going to read these in order of events. I also have feedback on the My Costa Mesa app in addition to a language request, accessibility requests, even for kids who can't read yet. I do have a tech background, so ideally I think a gamification angle could be really successful with incentivizing requests as well, almost like super submitters or just, top 10% of requesters. But something I noticed this week when someone DM'd me about a public works request was when I went to the city's website to get the proper contact for them, I actually noticed that the app isn't listed on any of our public works website pages. And so other than making a phone call, which I'm pretty sure he did, or emailing, that seems to be a great way to get the app in front of them when they would most need it organically. So I'm not sure if that should go to IT, but I wanted to get that on your radar. My next thought on actually, I had a question about the staff hiring update plan. Since we are already preparing for summer, and that seems to be our busiest time when we want to be at hiring capacity and fully onboarded, how are we doing on that? And when is the marketing blitz going to go live?
Thank you. I probably should have included that in my report. The agenda item had been postponed, so on the March 21st council agenda will be the mid-year budget update from the finance director, and then there'll be an update or a request from the finance or the human resources director as well that includes the increases to our part-time positions as well as position enhancements for other departments as well. So it's one big piece for that. As soon as that gets approved, that's when the marketing blitz would start. And again, we appreciate, we'll get emails out to you to help, with the recruitment of that. But we do have that queued up and ready. We were hoping it would be end of February. It's a very complicated piece. There's a lot of unions involved. So it's just about negotiations and making sure everybody's on board before that gets approved by council. So it is targeted on the March 21st agenda. So, tune in for that and hopefully we'll all walk away from that very happy.
Great, I'll make sure to attend. And as far as including that in the director's report moving forward, it'd be great to see a goal and then a percentage. And I know we mentioned it at the last meeting, almost like an HR pipeline overview, just so that we can get a gauge of sending in recommendations for people that are looking for full-time or part-time or have passion towards a specific department. And then I can personally support there as much as possible. I have a comment on Commissioner Garcia Arcos' request for the dog stand in Westside, or at Shalimar specifically. As far as possibly not having budget to add it, I'm sure that there is a park in Eastside that wouldn't miss it if we took it from there and moved it to Shalimar. We have several parks on Eastside that have dog bag stands, and one could argue that that demographic in walking distance may not need it as badly as those that are visiting Shalimar. And so hopefully we can include it in our Shalimar community input meeting. And I wanted to encourage my fellow commissioner to not let go of that request that you heard from residents and press into it when we do the input on that specific park. Or we can encourage more people to license their dogs as well. Two different directions.
People are very protective over their dog bag dispensers. I think Rob, Rob, you and I would both agree. We'd be happy to share those complaint calls with our commissioner, right? We'll just forward them to her. Okay. They do get very protective, and it's kind of funny because a park can have 3 or 4 different entrances, and they insist on having one at every entrance. Like you're walking, you're out there walking with your dog. Just walk to the next one. But yeah, it is something that is people can be very protective over.
My most popular request I hear is for a dog park on Eastside. So I understand how much we all want to pick up our dog's poop in the right way. Okay, my next question is also about community input. Do we have a goal for a due date that we announce to the public that we're going to have a community input meeting coming up? Is it a 2-week deadline before we set a date?
I think from the staff perspective, we like to have it planned about a month out. And that's, coordinating with different people. Like, obviously, with districts, we do try to include the council member for that particular district, making sure it's on their schedule. Sometimes it is working with the commissioner in that area. Not necessarily like we don't have the meeting if they're not available, but we just like to try to coordinate with them because they do like to be represented. I think, coming up with the large quantity of projects that we're talking about. I mentioned we do have some consultants that we're looking at or working with for specifically the Shalimar Park project and the Ketchum Live-Oak project. The consultants would be working with staff on the outreach. But I think trying to have a series of meetings that we put on a single flyer. So you have this opportunity, on a Thursday. Usually we try to do it an evening, a weeknight evening, a weekend daytime. And then, the commission meeting is obviously a set time. So we try to have 2 or 3 different opportunities. And, we can even do a Zoom meeting nowadays. It's not an official commission meeting, but if it's just for community input, that's another option. So that way, instead of putting out 4 different flyers, have one flyer with the series of meetings. That way people know if I miss this one, I can still go to that one.
Mm-hmm. Great. So ideally 1 month ahead with an entire ledger of future scheduled meetings so that local residents can check their calendar, attempt to make it to one meeting or our meeting here.
Yeah, and what we try to do is notice the neighborhood. We do send mailers out for certain projects if we know it's, a specific group. So if we're doing a project at, T. Winkle Park, making sure that we're, posting signs and then noticing the neighbors closest to the park. I think that applies more for the neighborhood parks that have more buy-in from their, the residents within 500 feet. So, through signage, through mailers, through the website, through social media, we do try to cover as many bases as possible.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely think I would be interested in exploring our community engagement process in a future meeting, to echo Commissioner Brown's comment, especially in light of seeing parents come tonight not knowing the status update on Brentwood, not even having the time to stay until later in the meeting. I also know several families in the local area that have questions and ideas, but they're not tuned in to our calendar, our meetings, even though they know me. So I am kind of the channel that will relay it back to them. I guess my final question for both Shalimar, Ketchum, and Brentwood is there a way for them to give their email to get future signups? Are we only marking if they send in inbound requests? So just as a commissioner, what is the best way we can guide them and encourage them when we don't yet have the dates to stay in the loop?
Yeah, that's a great point. And the website for the commission, we do want you to be ambassadors for these different projects. I hope each of you have your commission emails and they've been up and running without issues. If someone were to log on to the commission page and click onto your district email and send an email to District 6, District 5, District 4, I know some of you have gotten those emails. It does get emailed to a couple members of the Public Works Department as well as myself, and we kind of triage, who's responsible for whatever that request was. If somebody were to email any of the districts and I see it, typically I try to respond within 24 hours and just let them know, thank you so much for your interest in that project. We'll put you on the mailing list for whatever the project that you request. So, emailing our staff, I think we do a pretty good job capturing emails so that we do get around to certain projects at certain parks. We're able to contact anybody that had expressed interest. The Costa Mesa Tennis Center was a good example. I know I was getting emails. I know Laura and staff were getting emails. I know Monique was getting emails. And, we do kind of a consolidated effort at the end to put all the email addresses together to make sure we send out the information to all. And we'll be doing that again before that report goes to council, most likely in early May.
That's great. So for public record and anyone who's tuning in the future, so they can reach out to each of us personally, and those records or recommendations or requests are basically marked until in the ongoing development of the project. And so when they do bring a request via email specifically, it's on the record for the entire time, which is fantastic. Okay, my final question, thank you for bearing with me, is the study session on Tuesday, are we just going over the state senator's funds, or are we going over funds from all three sources?
Well, I'm glad you asked that as well. So the Parks and Community Services Department did a study session specific to our department at the January meeting. The Development Services Department did a study session at one of the February meetings, and the feature presenter is our Public Works Department. So you will see and hear from Mr. Rob Bryan. And then way in the back, trying to hide underneath the seat in front of him, is our city engineer, Sung Yang. So they will be doing a presentation about all things related to public works. So if you had ever had any questions about what your Public Works Department does for you here in the city of Costa Mesa, tune in and you will be subject to a riveting presentation from our Public Works Department. Once that is over, or kind of once they go through their presentation, they segue into the capital project update, which really focuses on the MIN money, but there can be some discussion about some of the other, recently grant-funded projects as well.
That's great to know. So since the Shalimar Park is a part of that, the study session on Tuesday would be a great time to voice the dog stand. Wonderful. Well, I look forward to helping you all as much as I can, and also including the public in these more non-traditional approaches to community engagement. So thank you, and that's all I have for tonight.
Laura, do you happen to have the website for the commission page? I don't think I can pull it up here.
Are you referring to the subscription, like e-notification? Or are you referring to the...
If a member of the public would like to get a hold of one of our commissioners via email, we can get you the website before the end of the meeting. I believe our chairperson still has a couple of questions, but in the meantime, we'll look that up. Or anyone can go onto the city website and click on government. There's a pop down that should show Parks and Community Services Commission. You click on that page. There's a button for commissioners and staff, and there's email address links right there. So they can get a hold of you. You said personally, I think that's the best way, is through your city email address.
Does it say on there public requests can be made to are encouraged to be made to commissioners?
No, it just lists the contact information for staff and then for each commissioner by district.
I don't think we want to assume that the public knows what our job is supposed to be. So possibly one or two sentences encouraging the purpose of our service could catalyze that welcoming relationship with the public.
I think there's a couple other ways we could do that, but I'll do some research on that and try to bring that for the next meeting. Other options other than just sending it to individual commissioners if people just want to go on the record for something.
Just one follow-up. I think that an agenda item on community engagement is especially critical because, Mr. Minter, I appreciated you talking through all the meetings that you held, but meetings should be one of so many ways of doing public engagement. And it's quite old school, actually, that there are so many more dynamic ways to do community engagement, meeting people where they're at, and not just at the space that they're using, but thinking creatively. So I think that this might be a good space to have conversations and to think creatively about what community engagement is. I don't expect there to be somebody on staff who's, maybe there is somebody on staff who's hired to think through community engagement. Organizations who can afford it have people who have been trained in how to do this in the, in more cutting edge ways. So I think as a city, with all the money coming in, we need to get very creative around community engagement. So just a plug that it goes very far beyond the meeting. Thank you.
We do use SurveyMonkey and some of the tools like that in addition to it's not just limited to meetings.
No, I understand. And it's surveys, again, that's a very traditional method. So I would say count on us, use us. We're people who've been doing community engagement. I've been doing community engagement across the state of California. I'm sitting next to somebody who's been paid to do community engagement. I think we might be able to offer some ideas. You don't have to take them, but they could inform consultants' work, which helps you all out. Thanks.
We would appreciate the support, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Any other commissioner questions? All right, I'll round us out. I have a few here. Excellent report again. Thank you to Jason, Monique, Rob, the whole team. I just want to reiterate, I know sometimes it feels a little bit scrutinizing. Sometimes it feels like we're picking at things, but I just want to reiterate that the requests for more information about the capital projects, the requests for more information and about where these are at, is really in the spirit of excitement from our end about the scope of what's in front of the city. I think it's an incredibly exciting, perhaps there never has been such an exciting time for you guys in terms of the number of projects you're undertaking, the amount of funds that have come to the PACS department for a variety of projects and programs. So I think and with the significant increase in funding, in activity from years prior, I think that it's prudent and incumbent upon us to ask for more transparency in this regard. So I just wanted to reiterate that point. I'm not saying I have the silver bullet answer, but I do think it is, and we've heard that from the public, you've heard that from commissioners and from council members. So if we can think through that a little more and how we relay that information to the public, and I'm not trying to be critical because I'm just trying to say, and I think Commissioner Brown said this already, but we know there's much more, a vast scope of things that are in front of in front of you in terms of capital project updates. And so I think this list is good, but there has to be a more comprehensive list. So members of the public can expect or have an understanding of where things, and they don't have to come and sit to the end of a 2-hour meeting. They can pull up your report and read it and know and have an expectation of what's coming down the pipeline, especially for, the families that have been engaged in Brentwood Park. I mean, I really appreciate that they come and engage with us at our parks meetings. I appreciate, I think we appreciate anybody that wants to come engage at our meetings. But, when they're asking for something that I think is pretty straightforward, where's the project at? When's the next public input opportunity going to be? That should be included in the report if we have any idea of what is coming down the pipeline. So you don't have to respond to that per se, but I just wanted to give that feedback because we're very excited. I hope you're hearing that from us tonight. We're very excited about these things that are coming ahead for this city. So in that spirit, I do also want to ask, I knuckle punched my mic as well. I've followed up about this in the past, but the fly field, what's going on with the fly field right now and where is that at?
Staff are preparing a report, hopefully to be on the agenda for the March 21st meeting as well.
Awesome, for City Council to look at?
For City Council's review.
Appreciate it. And then Jason, I know you gave a brief summary of the wait list on the community gardens. I think we've heard a lot of interest from community members in potential to expand community gardens or look at reconfiguring this space. So I just wanted to report that you shared some great ideas in a conversation we had. If you could report that out to the commission, that would be great.
As I mentioned earlier, we will be bringing a staff report to hopefully the next PACS commission. And if it's okay with you, I'd prefer to wait until that staff report is prepared and share it all with you then.
Fair point. We'll save it to then. This is just a comment I wanted to say, and again, this is just feedback. I think anybody that attends the events you put on, Monique and the PACS team, they're fantastic events. People give rave reviews about the quality and the production of those events. So I guess the only thing I wanted to just ask to consider, and just asking you to consider this, but I think that was some good feedback from the city council, and it dovetails on some of the comments we've made tonight, with the volume of CIP projects and grant funding that has specific deadlines on it. maybe it's worth, thinking after your busy spring season of events, take a little break for a month or so. Maybe you'd appreciate that too, but and maybe that would be helpful to the department. So I just wanted to give that feedback in line with what we heard from the city council. With the volume of projects and items that are going on, some things are being delayed, like the open space master plan. With this volume of activity, maybe we look at reprioritizing some things a little bit so that we can deliver on these important items and not lose sight of that what we're doing, because these are events we can always do again next year if we miss an opportunity this year. So I just wanted to relay that feedback because again, we heard that from the city council at the study session. And I appreciate Commissioner Brown's comment about the community engagement item. I think we should follow up about that offline, but I think, you said it perfectly. A physical in-person meeting is one of the least accessible ways to engage people in a dynamic, environment that we live in. So I think there's, much more we can do in that regard, and build it into this is actually an idea Commissioner Wright had suggested, but having an online booking at the community facility, there's got to be, and that's got to be easier for the staff at the community at the Norma Herzog as well. If we can have that done electronically and have that streamlined, for community members to just with a few clicks be able to submit requests and her to process them that way, just things that we can automate or streamline or reduce the level of interaction, make it more one-to-one. So I think that's a great idea to have a conversation about that. I definitely support it, but would like to talk about it a little bit offline too. So yeah, that brings us to the end of my comments tonight. Jason, is there anything else you want to add to your report?
No, I'm good for tonight.
All right. Well, are there any additional commissioner comments? All right. I did want to just say, normally we have Ms. Fatua helming us, and so I did want to say, Ms. Vitari, thank you. Knocked it out of the park tonight. Appreciate all your help and support. All right, well, with that, we're going to adjourn our meeting until April 13th, 2023, and we'll see you all then.